In a stunning move, the Grizzlies fired head coach Taylor Jenkins with 9 games left in the regular season. That's been confirmed by our Bill Reiter. And Jenkins had the Grizzlies in the 5th seed at 44-29. He's the winningest coach in the franchise history, and assistant Tomas Ilalo will now take over as the interim head coach. Time now to bring in CBS Sports NBA analyst Tim Doyle and CBS Sports NBA insider Bill Reiter for this surprising news. Maybe not in Memphis, because there were rumblings that it just wasn't connecting. But Bill, I'll start with you. Why did the Grizzlies make this move now? Because they could have made the move after the postseason when they weren't going to win the NBA Finals probably, but they do it with 9 games left.
That is the $1,000,000 question. And nobody knows. Nobody that I've talked to around the league has an answer. You use the word stunning. It's perplexing. It's baffling. It's a shocker. You're right. There has been speculation that some tension has emerged perhaps between some of the players and their former head coach. There was certainly rumblings that the rotations that Taylor Jenkins was using worked to the liking of the front office and maybe some of the players. And while we can look at the accomplishments he's had, and they're incredible, and I'm not justifying what they've done because it is bizarre timing, they have struggled to beat winning teams. The only winning team they've beaten since the trade deadline was a Maverick squad that A, was broken because Luka was gone, and B, was missing 7 players on that particular day. They haven't played well of late. But at the end of the day, I don't have a good explanation for you. Top 10 offense, top 10 defense, in the mix in a crowded Western Conference. As one GM put it to me, a guy that's had to fire people before, sometimes when you have a come-to-Jesus conversation, somebody doesn't leave that room with the job they thought they had when they walked in.
This only worked out once in my mind, and Bill, I want you to wrap your head around this. When you fired a coach this close to the postseason, Steve Fisher inherited a Michigan job in 1989, and they went on to win a national championship. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Right, that's a long time.
But, he was the assistant coach, and boom, he was the head coach, and then won a championship. I've always loved Ja Morant. I covered him as a freshman at Murray State. And when I saw him, then I went, oh, my goodness, this kid is going to be something special. And ended up being the 2nd pick in the draft. And when he plays, Memphis is really good. Bill, I got some numbers for you here. They're 28-15 with Ja on the floor. They're 16-14 when he's not on the floor. So, he's obviously an amazing athlete. He attacks the rim with reckless abandon, but guy's been banged up, and then obviously he's had some off-the-court issues. This seems a lot like a 2005 music video that I used to watch. It was called Trapped in the Closet by R. Kelly. And they used to say, don't look in the closet. Don't look in the closet. Something seems to be hiding, Bill Reiter, in the closet. I don't know what's going on with the closet. We're like, Taylor Jenkins, what's going on in there? But they're going to open that door one day. You're going to look in, and it ain't going to be pretty, because this does not happen at any professional sports level when your team is this good right before the playoffs.
It really doesn't. And, it's very rare, right? It's very rare, and you wonder how it's going to affect the team, the players. And, Bill, of course, Tomas Ilalo, he's a guy that's clearly highly regarded within that franchise. He's got the interim tag now. What are the chances you think he becomes the official head coach after this season, depending on how he does in the postseason?
I'm told pretty strong, and I think it's a good question. There's some context here. Jenkins was required last offseason to bring in all new assistant coaches, and the view was it was a collaborative effort between Jenkins and the front office, which really means the front office made this decision. So the sense is he's got a really good job to take away the interim tag in that interim head coaching opportunity that he's got right now. But that's part of what's perplexing about this. Part of the reason he can get the job is there's a world where if Ja Morant can be healthy, and Tim, you're absolutely right, they are really good when he's there. They're 16-14. They're basic when he's not, when he's missed games. That's a lot of games he's missed. It's 30. If he plays, there's a sense that the Grizzlies are one of 5 or 6 teams in the West who can make a deep run, who might be the team that is surprising outside of the Thunder. There's also a sense that maybe that could have been true with Taylor Jenkins. And I want to just follow up really quickly on the point that you made. There's one name that comes to mind where they've done this and it's worked, and it was Pat Riley firing Stan Van Gundy a long time ago, only we know that Riley was a star head coach and he had won championships. The most recent example is John Horst, the GM of Milwaukee, firing Adrian Griffin a year and 2-3 months ago when that team was 30-13. They brought in Doc Rivers. And since that time, that Bucks team has become worse, not better. They were in 2nd place in the Eastern Conference when that decision was made a year and a half ago. They finished 3rd. They're battling right now with the Pistons and the Pacers to be 4th or 5th. So we don't know what's going to happen. But all this adds up to it doesn't make sense because with this interim coach or the guy they just fired, Memphis is good enough to at least win a playoff series. It's a tough West, and this almost never works.
Yeah, I'm sure as time goes on, we are going to find out what really led to this move. Because it's one thing to fire him after the postseason, but 9 games left. Tim, I want to ask you from a player's perspective, how do you think this will go over in the locker room, depending on, maybe he had some favorites in the locker room, maybe there were some players that didn't like him, going into the end of the regular season and then the postseason?
If the players got him fired, which I obviously don't know, maybe they end up rallying behind this of like, perfect, he's gone, now we can, play a certain way, and it just seems really unusual. I actually love the depth of this team. I thought their bench was really good. Problem was they just all weren't healthy at the right time. So it just seems to me from afar, and I am speculating here, the GM in the front office wanted to change. And they couldn't do it anymore. And they were like, you want something, you're out. And you don't know how those conversations go. You sit down, two people, big egos, start yelling at each other. GM makes the decisions, you're out of there. So just seems wildly unusual. Memphis, kind of Bill fits with everything in Memphis. Because right when you think like they have things figured out or Ja's like playing and he's not getting in trouble, like you're like, all right, I'm starting to buy into Memphis a little bit. Then something like this happens and you're like, this is Memphis.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. Tim Doyle puts it very well. Bill Reiter, we appreciate the time. Tim, you as well. Now here's a look at the Grizzlies' remaining schedule. They've got the Lakers, the Celtics, the Warriors, the Heat, the Pistons, Hornets, Timberwolves, and Nuggets and Mavericks. So a lot of teams that are going to be playing in the postseason. It's going to be really fascinating to see how everything shakes out for this Grizzlies squad.